Well, hello again, YouTube. It's been a while since I've updated the progress I've made on the chase cam. I've mounted it on my other airplane. It's a Kolb Firestar from 1985. It mounts pretty similarly. I've just attached it to the gear leg on this airplane rather than the flap handle on the other one. Same hose clamp, same hardware. Do a little video here of a flight I made last evening. It was a really nice calm evening, and I went up about 3,000 feet above the airport, switched the engine off and glided back, which is a lot of fun to do. Just so happens as I'm taxiing out here, the camera happens to be looking at the airplane. It's just swinging free underneath the strut here, so I don't have any control over it, but it got the picture framed up reasonably good here. So this is the Corning Airport in about 7 o'clock or so in the evening. It was a hot day. It was 100 degrees today, but it was starting to cool off by this time. Had an interesting sky with some high clouds and some sundogs and a ring around the sun going on there, which made a beautiful sunset later on. So here's the takeoff. I've left the audio running on this, so you'll probably be able to hear a little bit of the engine noise. The airplane gets off the ground pretty well. It's just a Rotax 377, but it's built light, and it's as much power as you'd ever need. It really can't see the reason to put a bigger engine on an airplane like this. If you keep it light, it flies good. So now we're up at altitude here. I'm gonna run the camera out on the monofilament, and so we're seeing the airplane from a distance here. I put it out, so I think I've got it marked out at about 15 feet. It frames the other airplane pretty well. This one I probably could have run it back another 5 feet or so. Unfortunately, you don't have any way of seeing the video while you're doing this, so it's trial and error, but it's usable. One thing I was pleased about is this is still pretty smooth. This is the same camera. I really haven't made any advances in terms of the design. It's the same one that you saw in the previous videos. So here I am at 3,000 feet, and I've just switched off the engine a little ways west of the field. Got about a 500 foot a minute sink rate. I'm 3,000 feet up, so I've got about 6 minutes to play around here as a glider, and it's really great to do this. It's quiet, and you get no vibration. It's just a very different feel. It's also just good practice to learn how your airplane glides, because flying around with two-stroke engines, or for that matter any aircraft engine, has a propensity to quit. The two-strokes do it a little more often, so it's good practice to learn how to fly it as a glider, and it flies perfectly well. Probably getting about a 7 or 8 to 1 glide ratio with this airplane. It's not really made as a glider, short wings and no fairings on anything, but it's still, 6 minutes of gliding time seems like a lot more than that when you're actually in the air. So I was doing some sort of mild wing overs here and a few little whifferdills to just kind of enjoy the smooth air. You can see the prop slowly turning in the slipstream there as the airplane's accelerating. It best glide speed's about probably around 35 to 40, and when I pull back to that speed, it tends to stop. But flying a little faster, the prop will slowly turn. I'm not able to restart the engine in this airplane in the air. I just can't pull on the rope hard enough. It's at a really funny angle over the shoulder, so without electric start, I'm pretty much committed to be a glider here. There was one other ultralight in the pattern. There's a taxiway, and there's also some big fields next to the airport, so there's options if I had to land. If there was conflicting traffic, it didn't feel like there was a problem of being able to get the airplane safely on the ground. The other ultralight didn't have radio, so I wasn't able to communicate my intentions, but with only one other airplane in the pattern, it wasn't that crowded. I took a few sailplane lessons a few years ago, and well, it's many years ago now, but one of the really useful things I learned was the idea of a key point, which is a point in the pattern, usually downwind to beam the windsock or midfield, where you try to hit a certain altitude, sailplane a certain airspeed. Ultralight, the airspeed's they don't change that much, but basically that puts you in a good position to make the rest of the approach. I found with this airplane it's about 1,000 feet above ground, downwind, midfield. sets you up pretty nice for going on into make a normal approach to landing as a glider. And that's a useful thing to know because it gives you a checkpoint that is far enough away from the airport, puts you in a good spot. There's not much glide path control. I don't have spoilers, don't have flaps, so you need to be set up on your approach ahead of time to make a smooth one. Still a little high here. I'm going to do another couple of circles to lose a little altitude and just have some fun. Just a beautiful evening to be out flying. The camera's smoother now. I think maybe the the slipstream as a glider, it's no prop blast, so there's less vibration going on for the camera. So I'm coming back into the key point now, getting down to about 1,000 feet, and I need to start concentrating on flying the pattern, and I didn't want to forget and leave the camera out. It's out of sight, out of mind, and if you come in with the camera back there, it's going to drag along the runway, and it probably won't end well. So I pull it back in as I enter the pattern here, so I don't have to think about it anymore, and I can focus on flying the approach. So I'm now about 1,000 feet midfield on downwind. I'm going to go ahead and just let this run out. My idea with trying to get in on the runway, again, because I don't have electric start, I wanted to coast to the first turnoff, so I'm not blocking the runway or having to push the airplane off the runway, so I can get off onto the taxiway to restart. As you'll see in the video, I just barely made it. My tail was just clear of the runway. There wasn't any other traffic, but it was a good thing to try for. So we'll let this run. At this point, the camera is pulled up underneath the wing, and it contacts the lower surface, stabilizes it, provides another option for filming. It's more stable in this configuration. It doesn't bounce around so much. You'll see as I land, almost as soon as I touch down, the camera swings down on the string, because the only thing holding it against the wing is the slipstream. So as the airspeed bleeds off, the camera drops down, and then it starts to flop all around. It's really a pretty smooth touchdown, but in this video it looks like a near crash at landing because the camera's bouncing around so much. So don't be alarmed. Alright, so we're on the ground. I was a little short and a little slow, but I'm going to just make it to the turnoff here. You can see the windsock just hanging limp over there. It was a really calm evening. Best time of the day to fly in the summertime. So here's the first turnoff. I just crossed over the yellow threshold line at the end of the runway. I wanted to taxi past the hold short line, but I didn't quite make it. But fortunately, this engine starts pretty easy, so I got it started on the first pull and headed on back to the hangar. Actually, I headed on back to do another flight, which I'll put up on another video here in a little while. So that's it.